time to begin. So good afternoon to our guests here in Ukraine, and good morning to our participants who join us from overseas. Welcome to the concluding event of the Building a Global Digital Presence for Ukrainian Women's History project, where we will present the outcomes and discuss how different digital tools and online platforms can strengthen feminist scholarship and increase public outreach. But before we begin, please observe a moment of silence in honor of Ukraine's fallen defenders killed by Russia. Thank you. So today our project participants will discuss their contributions and the challenges and insights encountered while working on different parts of the project, and our distinguished partners, representatives of the Association of Women in Slavic Studies, will share their immense experience with digital communication and outreach. They will also provide critical feedback on the project outcomes and prospects for building and using digital resources for feminist scholarly societies. And we are very delighted that our honorary members, Marta Horokhovianko, Professor Emerita and founding mother of Ukrainian women's history, and Tatiana Isaeva, founder and director of the Museum of Women's and Gender History, are joining us today. Let me briefly introduce you to the project, tell you about this ambitious project, and introduce our team. So the project resulted from our participation in a special program called the Accelerator for Scholarly Societies, very telling title, within the Science at Risk project carried out by the Kunsht NGO in spring 2026. During an intensive 2-week online training program in organizational and financial management, strategic planning, and communications, we developed an idea for a comprehensive digital transformation of our association. And the project is aimed at strengthening our association institutional capacity and increasing our presence and impact in Ukrainian and international academic landscapes. Since its founding in 2010, Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History has been the only professional platform in Ukraine dedicated to advancing women's history as a research field. Despite our tangible scholarly accomplishments, we also recognized that our existing website was technically and conceptually outdated. Furthermore, the lack of an English version severely limited our opportunities internationally. We were essentially invisible outside of Ukraine. So we consider digitalization as a means of amplifying the voices of Ukrainian scholarship and bringing our unique research expertise and knowledge to the global academic community. After an extremely competitive pitch in which over 50 projects participated, our association team won one of the 5 grants offered by Kunsht. The grant provided us with financial resources necessary to bring our dream to life. So the project team consists of 6 members. Let me introduce them. Olha Nikolaienko, a history professor from Skovoroda National Pedagogical University of Kharkiv. Iryna Savchenko, a history professor from Zaporizhia National University. Viktoria Vlasova, an independent scholar from temporarily occupied Melitopol, who currently resides in Kyiv. Marta Horokhovianko, a PhD candidate at Franco National University of Lviv. Zatalia Zalietor, a leading historian at the Ukrainian Research Institute of Archival Affairs and Record Management in Kyiv. And me. And we were fortunate to have 3 more highly talented, professional, and dedicated women on board. Olena Rybak, our star designer, Mariana Dushar, our wizard website developer, and Ruslana Stelmashchuk, our virtuoso financial management. And Ivana Cherchovich, who works behind the scenes, and she's also visible today, who is our Zoom fairy. So it's a real dream team capable of miracles. And the timetable for the project implementation was very tight. We committed to carrying out a comprehensive digital transformation of our association in 2 months. This encompassed four key areas. So first, a radical website upgrade and redesign. The Women's History UA portal was overhauled with a modern appearance, structure, and technologically advanced features. It became user-friendly and fully functional. Most importantly, a comprehensive English language version was launched. Second, a virtual digital library was created and equipped with a search engine and other useful features. It is the first specialized open access digital collection of scholarly works of Ukrainian women's and gender history, offering publications in Ukrainian and other languages. Third, we maintain a social media presence through the brand new official association pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. These pages serve as virtual spaces for engaging the academic community and as channels for public outreach. And last but not least, an international partnership, which was essential because we needed to learn from our experienced colleagues. For this project, Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History partnered with the Association for Women in Slavic Studies from the USA, and the AWSS members provided substantial support in building the digital library and shared their experiences in digital outreach. We are confident that this project is not only about upgrading our digital infrastructure. Rather, the infrastructure is perceived instrumentally. It will serve to strengthen the association institutional capacity and visibility to enable more active recruitment of new members. The project will advance research and teaching in women's and gender history in Ukraine and promote quality knowledge on women's past to broader public. For us, it is yet another step towards institutionalization of women's history scholarship in Ukrainian academia and a channel to invigorate transnational discussion about Ukrainian women's historical experiences in wider European and global contexts. And after this brief introduction, I'd like to share the floor or to offer the floor to my dear colleague, Professor Michelle Rivkin-Fish, who is a professor at the Department of Anthropology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and also a president of the Association of Women in Slavic Studies.
Thank you, Oksana, and thank you everyone for your contributions to this very important and exciting project. We at the Association for Women in Slavic Studies are extremely privileged and honored to be partnering with this important project on Ukrainian women's history. I would like to just highlight a few of the ways in which we have been, as an association, trying to support Ukrainian scholars on gender and the way that we think we can continue to do this in the future. We have had and continue to have several Ukrainian gender scholars on the board of the Association of Women in Slavic Studies. Also, we abbreviate it as AWSS. This includes our own Oksana Kis, Iryna Skubi, Maria Mayerchik, and Oksana Dudko. And we are interested in recruiting new Ukrainian women scholars or gender scholars to the board in the future. Since the full-scale invasion in February of 2022, we have given annual stipends to scholars in Ukraine who study gender and are at risk. And we include with the stipend for their research the membership for being members of AWSS. And that's something we're very pleased. It's a way of bringing the scholars in and giving them contacts and networks and a sense that we are with you in your agendas and we want to support you in any way we can. when Oksana approached us to participate as partners in this important project on the bibliography and the website, we convened a special AWSS committee to assist in compiling English language sources that had perhaps not been part of the bibliography to date. And I'm really appreciative of the work that Kirillo Talpigo, who is a Slavic reference librarian at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, who's originally from Kiev. He was able to find several English language PhD dissertations that he's added to the bibliography. And that made me think about the importance of this project and this work that you're doing for future graduate students in the United States and in other European contexts who will be writing in English, but will be needing access to whatever literature is being written and to learn about the colleagues that are going to be their future people that they will be referencing and citing and reading and learning from. So I see this as extremely useful for graduate students, future PhDs, and the future of the field of Ukrainian women's and gender history. AWSS would like to suggest future collaborative possibilities between our two organizations, such as the potential for a sponsored session at a future ACES conference. Every year, the Association for Slavic, Eurasian, and East European Studies, the major professional organization, holds a conference in the United States. It will be held in November of 2026, and that program has already been finalized. But in 2027, I would like to invite Ukrainian history scholars of gender and women's history to propose a panel that could be the AWSS sponsored panel for that conference. And that would be a way of highlighting and demonstrating our ongoing relationship. Another opportunity would be in 2028, the AWSS will have its next biennial conference. It will be held in Warsaw, Poland. And I would like to invite Oksana and anyone here who would have the opportunity to join us in Warsaw to consider submitting ideas for papers, for ways in which Ukrainian women and gender history could be involved as a special theme of that conference. So those are some ideas, and I, of course, welcome your feedback and suggestions and continuing the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your continued support and for generosity of Association of Women in Slavic Studies supporting Ukrainian scholars at risk. And many of us have benefited from that support, not only financially, but most importantly, morally, like emotionally. That's something very valuable for us. And at this moment, I'd like to offer the floor to a team member of our project, Iryna Savchenko, who was in charge of putting together the virtual library, preparing the bibliographies together with Olha Nikolaienko, and they will share some of their experiences now. Thank you.
Okay, good evening all. I'm sorry, my English not so well, but I try and explain what all of I want to say. And now I would like to say about my work and work my colleague Olha Nikolaienko. And now I would like to say short report on the topics and online library of text on the history of Ukrainian women in foreign languages. Okay, one of the key objectives of the Ukrainian Association for Research Women History Transformation was to create an online library where the quality scholarship on Ukrainian women history could be found in one place. we thought to create a library that, on the one hand, would provide a broad list of academic publication on Ukrainian women's history, and on other hand, would include a substantial foreign language component that would enhance the visibility of Ukrainian women's history for the international academic community. The demand for such a library in Ukraine is very changeable, as the field is rapidly growing and an increasing number of university courses are offered. And many new works are published on a wide range spectrum of research topics in women's and gender history. So we hope that this virtual library will become a useful resource in both the educational and academic spheres. Preparing such library involved a number of specific tasks carried out at various stages. Reviewing the existing bibliography offered on the association website, updating the list of works by the association members, and supplementing the list with significant works by researchers outside the organization. The eventual goal was to complete the most comprehensive list possible, covering both Ukrainian and foreign language bibliographies. My responsibilities in these projects were to review the existing association library and also to complete a list of foreign language bibliographies, which I will discuss in more detail below. And I would like to say some words about criteria of selection. A scholarly nature of a publication was a major selection criteria. Therefore, the library includes academic books, both individual monographs and edited volumes, books, chapters, and research articles from peer-reviewed professional journals, as well as doctoral thesis. An important condition was text acceptably. Priority was given to work available in open access or those providing detailed information on research findings. We sought to present the work of both Ukrainian and international resources as comprehensively as possible. A very tight project timeline represented a particular challenge in our work, as we had to complete work fast and keep out with deadlines. That is why we appreciate professional assistance provided by our international partners, who contributed substantially to the bibliography, especially the input from Kristin Vorobets and Kirilla Talpiga. As a result of our joint effort, the foreign language section of Virtual Library of Works on Ukrainian women's and gender history in Ukraine was put together, and currently it comprises 253 entries. The majority of the works are written in English, and there is also a significant share of Polish and German language publications. The period covered in this section spans from the times of Kiev and Rus to the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian war. The thematic scope is very broad: women's everyday life, creative practices, property and political rights, bodily experience and sexuality, social activism, and the history of the women's movement, women's experience of war and genocide, and the nationalist underground, among other topics. The research often crosses the boundaries of historical scholarship per se, encompassing related humanitarian disciplines: anthropology, art history, political science, sociology, literature studies, and religion studies. The website allows users to search by other topic, region, and historical period. And we hope that this section of the library will help increase the visibility and recognition of women's and gender history in Ukraine within the international academic community and beyond, strengthens academic collaboration and the integrations of Ukrainian women's history into comparative studies, and serve as an important resource for the educational process. However, we are aware of our limitation and invite all interested parties to help improve this resource. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Iryna. Since Iryna was working on the library together with Olha Nikolaienko, I'd like to invite Olha Nikolaienko to say a couple of words to add something to what Iryna has already presented. Thank you.
Hello. One of the objectives of the association transformation project was to create a digital library of scholarly text on women's history accessible to an international audience. Texts by Ukrainian researchers published in Ukraine in domestic scholarly journals hold significant potential in this area. Therefore, it was necessary to compile a list of Ukrainian publications, expand their own already on the website, verify links to articles, and add a list of significant scholarly studies authored by non-members of association. I was responsible for this specific aspect of this work. The guiding principle in compiling the list of publication was the quality of the scholarly articles, which required the use of original sources, a clear and well-founded methodology for their use and interpretation, and well-reasoned conclusions. The second fundamental criterion was accessibility, or at least a certain level of information regarding the researchers' results. Without infringing on copyright, we focused on open access articles or summaries of book contents or abstracts of monographs. Thematically, the texts in the library cover various aspects of women's history from ancient times to the present, women's practices and life strategies, everyday life, economic and power relations, marriage, family, motherhood, participation in public life, biographical studies, and the history of fashion. In other words, the range of topics encompasses not only history itself, but also subjects from other humanities disciplines, anthropology, art history, political science, sociology, and literary studies. However, women's history remains at the center of all this scholarly investigation. The list turned out to be substantial, more than 500,000 entries. We acknowledge that it is incomplete, as we understand that each of us researchers is well versed in the historiography dedicated to our respective thematic and spatio-temporal context. It is likely that we may have overlooked some items. Therefore, we would like to take this opportunity to invite all scholars who are aware of significant open access publications on women's or gender history to write to us about them, submit suggestions, and provide links for posting on our website. If you notice that an important publication on Ukrainian women's history is missing from the association digital library, please provide the relevant information. Authors of scholarly works might submit their own works in PDF format for inclusion in the library. Publication may be in Ukrainian or foreign languages. Associated will consider adding them to the library. As a leading academic organization in the field of women's history, We hope to compile a collection of publications related to this central theme. The purpose of this online resource is to disseminate knowledge about women's history and to establish gender history as an equal branch of domestic historical studies. The website's developers have made it possible to search alphabetically as well as by topic, chronological, and by location, which facilitates the search for necessary resources and meets the necessary requirements for cataloging literature. This will make the materials posted on the website accessible to all interested parties. An important step in the transformation of our organization is understanding the needs of civil society throughout the perspectives of expert scholars. Our contacts with women's and feminist organizations demonstrate that they need a scholarly analysis of women's historical experience to identify the causes of today's problems and understand how they can be addressed within our social context. What were the mistakes in the women's movement and what should be kept in mind when developing policies and strategies to promote gender equality, etc. We sincerely look forward to continued collaboration with all interested parties who understand that the foundation laid for this scholarly digital library provides a solid basis for creating the largest digital collection of Ukrainian texts on women's history. We believe that our organization and website will become powerful resources for future studies in women's history. We hope that this collection will serve as a foundation for educational initiatives and teaching materials, and for promoting the achievements of Ukrainian women scholars in the international academic community, which will impact both their individual academic standing and recognition of the work of researchers in Ukrainian women's history as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. I believe it's the right time to shift the floor and to give the opportunity to speak to our dear colleague Christine Vorobets, whose enthusiasm and encouragement was most inspiring to us. Christine Vorobets is a historian and distinguished research professor emerita from Northern Illinois University, and she's also the board member of AWSS, and she has many responsibilities as the board member, including compilation of the bibliographies, of which we benefited the most, the Facebook page moderation, and editing also the AWSS listserv. So, Christine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and witayu, dobry večer, and congratulations for this wonderful opportunity. It's I looked at my CV and I realized that Oksana and I go back to 2002 and very proudly have been in touch over the years, and it's such a privilege to be here. Let me, just a brief word on the bibliography for a moment. I did notice one thing that's missing, and I would encourage that when we all have a chance, to add primary sources. And the reason for this is that, and I understand there are a lot of things in Ukrainian that foreign scholars may not necessarily be able to access, but some things have been translated into other languages. And I would encourage, both for your own students as well as the rest of us, to have a separate section for that. And so all languages would apply, scholarly influences, and these are really important, and believe it, they're being used in, the English sources are being used in universities in Canada and the United States. So I just urge that this is another way of really expanding an essential audience. And then beyond that, I'd like to mention that AWS has a very active Facebook page. And, we started off really slowly, but over the years, we've found some strategies that have worked to make it successful. So we now have over 3,300 members. And what happens is that because we strategically focus on certain things like job ads for everything, now this is all women in Slavic, the whole area of Eastern Europe and Central Europe, fellowships, job ads, publications, as well as members' news, we have, with that focus, have brought more and more people in, and they've been flooding in for the last several months. It's amazing. And part of it has to do with these numbers, that once you get into these large numbers, people are in touch with each other, and they are obviously sharing this information. And you are a member of our Facebook page. You are welcome to post, all of you, as an association or as individuals. You're more than welcome to do so. You're not screened. At the same time, which I have to warn you, that when you screen, we do screen some associations. So sometimes when an association asks you, may we become a member, and they meet the academic criteria and so on, their goals may be different than ours or yours. Some are commercial, and sometimes that's not evident. And so I had to stop one. I had to basically I just put it on hold, and I would check it. And I realized it was far too commercial. It was not what their, identification had suggested. And the other thing that happened, and so you can actually monitor societies. So I have one that I only allow postings from it if the postings deal with women. If they don't, but conferences sometimes, they're broadly defined, but as long as gender and women are mentioned somewhere in there, or if it's a promotion, a way for younger scholars to get access to larger groups, we allow that kind of stuff in. But we do monitor it. And the other thing is we are not a public Facebook page. And I mention this because we started as a public association. We started getting, and it's unfortunate, but people who were selling things or posting inappropriate things. And the other problem that you may have heard of is that people can steal, they look for Zoom presentations that they can bomb. That is not possible when you go private. The one limitation with the privacy is you can't share, you can't click the share button, but you can copy and paste. So it's a way around that. And, these are issues that we have come to understand. But there are lots of features that do help create community. And one thing that this is also a way of creating more network and more collaboration. And I'd like to stress what Michelle has pointed out, and that is we are all into collaboration. I've benefited from my Ukrainian colleagues. I've written with some of them, and Katerina Dissa in particular. I've learned so much from her, and we have this, just amazing friendship, and more of that kind of work can be done. It's really productive. We learn so much from each other in our scholarships, and so just point that out. And of course, your advice is always appreciated, and we also like feedback. We do have a listserv, which is a voluntary sort of, anyone can sign on. You don't have to be a member of AWSS. And there we have a much more detailed, it's a complete job list and funding lists. So every 2 weeks, these things are put out. I very rarely post those online because that's a lot of work. and we really are, so sort of careful. And it's a way to bring people into the association otherwise. So graduate students are really interested in it, and people who are just recently, of course, defending a dissertation there are avid members. And that's a way that we can draw junior people into our association who become members of the board. That's a huge pool. So there are different ways that you can encourage activity, and you're all welcome in these things. So if you don't know about the listserv, just go on our webpage and you can easily sign up. And we don't bombard you with a lot of messages. That's Facebook. Facebook can do that. So your email box is not going to be inundated. And it's such a pleasure to see you all. And I look forward to working with you, and we'll have a lot more input on the bibliography as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Your advices are most appreciated. We know how much you do for promoting and helping scholars to stay in the profession, especially focusing on women's and gender history, which is not that much supported by many universities. But that's why it's so important to have this job information and scholarships and grants and so on and so forth, so people could somehow carry on and keep working on the topics they are really interested in. And I believe at this very moment we can move exactly to the social media, which are important part of our digital presence and visibility. And now I'd like to offer the floor for our team member Marta Horokhovianko, who worked on the social media together with Viktoria Vlasova. So Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. One of the key components of the project building a global digital presence for Ukrainian women's history was strengthening the online presence of the Ukrainian Association for Women's History Research, particularly through social media. The goal was to create new channels of communication with the academic community, women's rights advocates, and the wider public in order to promote women's history, disseminate research findings, and increase the visibility of the association in Ukraine and beyond. During the initial stage of the project, the association's official pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn were created. These platforms were selected to different target audience. LinkedIn for scholars and the professional community, Instagram for students and young people, and Facebook for a broader audience, including teachers, journalists, civic activities, and everyone is interested in women's history. Descriptions of the organization's activities were prepared in Ukrainian and English. The visual design of the profiles was developed, and pages were configured for effective communication with the audience. Particular attention is paid to ensuring consistent style of presenting the organization across all digital channels, using design solutions and visual identity elements that were specifically developed for the association within this project, contributing to the creation of a recognizable brand. To implement an effective communication strategy, a content plan was developed, and materials for regular social media publications were prepared by our association. The aim was to provide concise and accessible information about the association activities and resources. Posts are published twice a week. We informed audience of recent activities of the association. For instance, the workshop Women's History as for Resources organized in cooperation with the Center for Urban History with financial support from the Virtual Ukraine Institute for Advanced Study. We also introduced the virtual library, which is a core element of our new website, presented as a digital library created within the project and informed audience about the digitization and of the association resource. Separate publications are dedicated to the history of the association, introducing its founders, honorary members, partner organizations, and a variety of digital resources for researchers and scholars available at the website. Victoria and I are not professional communications specialists, so we have had to learn and master the tools and specific features of social media platforms. In particular, we are learning how to use digital instruments like Canva to create visual materials. Therefore, through trial and error, we are searching for the most effective tools to expand our audience. Thank you for your attention, and now Victoria will continue with a presentation of our activities.
Hello, everyone. Let me continue. An important part of our work has been providing information for the international webinar, Ukrainian Women's History in the Global Digital Space. To promote the event, we created and designed a Facebook event, prepared announcements for social media, developed visual materials, and ensured the information was disseminated far and wide to reach out to the target audience. The webinar serves as an important platform for presenting the project outcomes, especially the new digital resources and opportunities the Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History website has to offer to the research community. In addition to creating and publishing content, we worked on the ongoing promotion of posts on social media. For example, our association posts were shared on the pages of partner communities. We invited our colleagues, women's organizations, research institutions, and educational establishments to follow our pages and interact with our content. This helped to increase our outreach, attract new followers, and disseminate information about our activities amongst academics, students, educators, activists, and anyone interested in the study of women's history. A regular presence on social media has helped lay the foundations for their organization's future communication activities and ensure sustainable channels of engagement with Ukrainian and international audience. The initial results of the communication strategy demonstrated significant interest in the association activities. Within the first 2 weeks, of launching the organization's official pages, we managed to attract 231 followers on Facebook, 45 followers on Instagram, and 44 followers of LinkedIn. The content produced as part of the project demonstrates quite good performance. The total numbers of views of posts on Instagram was around 3,000. Whilst on Facebook it exceeded 17,000. Audience analysis also revealed a substantial share of international visitors. 77% of views came from Ukraine, 6% from Germany, 3% from Canada, and 2% each from the United States and Poland. And a post about the association's virtual library attract particular interest. The original post on the Facebook page alone was shared over 50 times. This demonstrates the high demand for the academic and educational resources we offer. As a result of this work, an effective digital communication system has been established, which combines modern tools for promoting quality, scholarship, and dissemination of knowledge about women's history in various contexts, and ensures a broader presence for Ukrainian research in the international academic sphere. The social media platforms have become a key element in implementing the organization's digital development strategy and the foundation for the further expansion of its communication capabilities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Victoria. I believe it's the right time to come back to the website, because besides of the library, the virtual library, which is obviously the core element, the core resource, the most valuable resource we can offer, there are also other information and other resources the web page provide for those interested in women's history. So I'd like to invite our colleague Melissa Bokovoy, who is the professor of history at the University of New Mexico and the member of the AWSS board in charge of the AWSS, to share your experience of creating and maintaining the efficient and informative website for the users to come.
Thank you very much. I can't take credit for designing our website. We hired a professional web designer. So I want to say to your web designers that it's a beautiful, access point, right? So I love hopefully I found it, I put it in the chat. But really visually, just going on to the website, so it's visually pleasing, which will create, I think, people wanting to come and just go ahead and look at it. Also the links to articles, right, the citations, being able to download citations. I mean, it's really impressive professional digital library work. So really congratulations to the web designers, to the people who did all the coding. I mean, it's really very sophisticated. And I was thinking it's a really, as well as this initiative, that I'd love to see this national initiative across all of, not only, what we'd call Central and Southeastern Europe, the regions that our association deals with, but also it's a beautiful model for other women's history associations, really not only across Europe, but elsewhere. So again, congratulations. In terms of maintaining websites, and Michelle, she sends me things to post. Sometimes I'm a little late on it because, we all have, various, priorities, within our work. It is a volunteer. And the same thing with you all, right? This is volunteer labor. Always be patient with your web people, because, sometimes we don't always get things, up as efficiently as possible. Just what we've learned is about once a year, I ask members of the board to go through the website. You can assign, a member of the board to, just one of the pages that you maintain, just to click on things, make sure things are updated. This is one of the most difficult things about any web presence, is that you just have to stay, current and make sure, the links. The technology, as you know, has become more and more sophisticated, that if there's a broken link, you can go ahead on the back end of a website, have them send a message to the webmaster. But as I say, I don't want to take up any more time, but really, congratulations on really both a visual and, again, usable website. It really is magnificent. So congratulations.
Thank you for your kind words, and your evaluation is most important to us. Thank you for the good words for our work. We did our best, and also that's mostly volunteer work. But we are lucky because the people who are helping us professionally, including our web designer, they share our values, and therefore they are like true believers. And therefore they work harder to make it good, to make it look good and work good, and so on. But of course, in the course of our digital transformation, very important part was to create the English version of our website, because previously, because of the absence of that element, we were virtually invisible for the international scholarly community. And for us, that was a very important step to be visible, but also to have our own voice in English. And now I'd like to offer the floor to Zatalia Zalietor, who actually performed the translation of the entire website content into English. So she did a great job, and I hope she is willing to share her experience as well.
Thank you, Oksana. Yes, so between 20th of April and 10th of June 2026, so just under 8 weeks, I translated the 6 major sections of the website, in particular about us, projects, members, publications, video, and news. In total, this amounts to 224,000 characters, approximately 28,000 words, or roughly 124 standard translation pages. To give you a sense of proportion, this is equivalent to a mid-sized academic monograph, at least by Ukrainian standards. So before any translation began, I compiled a dedicated glossary, a bilingual reference document covering personal names in their passport transliterations, institutional titles, key terms in gender studies, and the titles of selected association projects. The glossary ensured, for example, that the same scholar's names appear identically across her personal profile, her project descriptions, and any news items mentioning her work. It also standardized the English rendering of Ukrainian institutional names, research projects, and disciplinary terms. This is the kind of detail that, if handled inconsistently, quietly undermines a website's credibility with an international audience. The English language website of the association will offer full access to the profiles of all current and honorary members, complete descriptions of 10 research and public engagement projects, titles and abstracts for 43 publications, titles of 52 video materials, and 16 news items documenting the association's activity. In practical terms, this means that our international colleagues can now discover who we are, what we study, and what we have accomplished, without relying on machine translation or second-hand summary. For a scholarly association like ours, an English language web presence is not a luxury, it is infrastructure. It enables international partnerships, supports grant applications to non-Ukrainian donors, and ensures that the work of Ukrainian gender historians is visible in the global academic conversation at a time when that visibility is particularly urgent. I am glad to have contributed my expertise to this effort, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Natalia. Obviously, there were numerous challenges during the translation process because of the terminology, because of the names and titles and so on and so forth, which are different in different countries. So we try to unify to make it understandable for the foreigners coming to visit our website, and I appreciate Natalia's diligent work on that matter. So basically, that's mostly it for our part to present here and now, but I hope there are questions, and if anyone had a chance to try and to somehow to browse our website and to look into different chapters and sections, maybe you want to share your opinion and perhaps your criticism and maybe suggestions for improvement, because as you probably understand, this is the very beginning of our work in this format, and we are open to all kinds of advices and help and suggestions, because we truly want to develop, to grow, and to expand our network, but also to keep the quality of our work on the proper level. So is anyone willing to say anything or ask or share or... Thank you for the congratulations. We really appreciate that our work is perceived so well. We understand our own limitations and imperfections, but we are working hard to improve those parts which are not working well at the moment. And there could be some glitches on the website at the beginning. Yeah, Michelle, please.
Yes. So thank you. One of the things that when we spoke, Oksana, at the recent conference, I understood that there would be a time frame that was rather strict, that the literature had to be his history prior to the Euromaidan. And when I saw that some work is included that's a little bit later, I was actually happy about that, because I understand that historians have to create a time frame with limitations, and that's a debate that your discipline has to have and has to undergo. My sense, though, is that for anthropologists and sociologists and perhaps others who are looking at Ukraine and gender today in the contemporary period, some more recent history could be useful to have on your site, because really the history of Ukraine, the contemporary history, is going so fast and things are changing so dramatically that even things that happened after Euromaidan, but maybe within the last 10 years, can be in the past today. So anyway, I'm just offering the suggestion as an anthropologist, thinking about how useful this could be with having a little bit more flexibility for more recent work. But I recognize this is a disciplinary question, and I'm just throwing it out there for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That's a very important question to discuss, and that's quite an issue we grappled with, and we had very hot discussion in our team how much we can stretch history as a concept and what would be the time distance to the events in question to consider them as history, right? On the other side, we understand that history is taking place right now, and we are living through very historical events, which are well documented, and they are explored and interpreted on the go, right? So immediately. And there is this newest scholarship, which could be identified as anthropology or sociology or political studies, but basically they concern historical events. So it's difficult to differentiate, obviously, but at the same time, the amount, the abundance of the scholarship which comes out basically every day, it's difficult to keep up with all those publications and to make sure that the best of the best are brought to our website. We are working on that. But coming back to the suggestions made by Christine about the sources, the primary sources to be published on the website, I have a kind of cautious optimism on that, because we had a wonderful workshop last week exactly on preparing the source materials for teaching for the university, and that was for the specific platform which is called Resources. And Iryna Savchenko, who is kindly managing today's session, is actually the head of that project at the Center of Urban History. So we worked on the sources on Ukrainian women's history for that platform, but also we had a working meeting of our association in Lviv, live in person. And one of the topics was how can we move forward with our website. And we already decided that we are going to make a separate collection of the primary sources, published primary sources like memoirs, like all kinds of autobiographies and letters published in different languages. And there are sources also in English by Ukrainian prominent female historical figures. So we are going to work on that in that direction as well. But probably Iryna Savchenko would like to share a few words about the platform and the workshop and its potential outcomes.
Thank you very much, Oksana. I already used my chance to share the platform, and I posted on the chat the web address of the resources, Rethinking Eastern Europe. It's an online educational platform created with the goal to diversify East European history curriculum with diversity of primary sources by making them available to the wider readership, translating them from the different languages of this multilingual region into English, and thus to diversify the curriculum of East European history. And obviously we have thematic section on gender and many materials, primary sources, but not only primary sources with research module written on those primary sources already translated, and you may find it in 2 languages, in Ukrainian and in original language of the primary source, Polish, Yiddish, German, Belarusian, Russian, and we have also them translated into English. So this project was launched 3 years ago, so we are still developing, and I am very much inviting you to check what we have. The workshop we have 1 week ago was super successful, and we are already working on some of the primary sources from the workshop to be published online very soon. So
great, thank you, Ivanka. And many of the members of the Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History are part of that project, but also other scholars who do not identify themselves as historians of women, but who within their own research fields encounter substantial or relevant or valuable or unique material, informative materials, primary sources, which could be useful to understand women's lives in the past, joined our project and our workshop. And I also believe that we somehow, might encourage them to be engaged a little bit more with women's and gender history in the future, and potentially join the association, because we always look forward and we are always searching for those who are good, who can do a quality scholarship and who can contribute to expanding the field, to go deeper into different topics, because actually we have to be honest that Ukrainian women's history, despite of all our efforts, is still has still very limited number of in-depth scholarship. So we have a lot of topics to be covered. We have a lot of gaps, and therefore we have a lot of work for anyone interested to join. So we always invite people to join us. So we also discussed the possibility of mentoring program. That's something we also learned from AWSS, this program of mentorship, when the more established or more experienced scholars would consult the younger researchers, especially doctoral students, in their research. So those don't feel like lost, because in many instances universities across Ukraine do not offer courses in women's and gender history, and oftentimes the young scholars who express their interest to study something related to gender are discouraged just because there is nobody to be their research supervisors. So we try to offer this opportunity to remotely coach them a little bit, to mentor them, to help them to feel like they are not alone, and they could discuss their research ideas with somebody who is more experienced. So we are trying to develop this kind of networking all over across Ukraine as well. So I'm looking in the chat. Okay, mostly all kinds of thanks. Thank you. That's very pleasant to see that our work is appreciated. Any other comments or questions or suggestions? Anything? We wholeheartedly invite you to visit our website, to look to different sections, because there are also sections with video materials, video recordings of public lectures, interviews by the members of Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History, the podcasts. There are also other resources. I'd like to share for a moment if you allow me, I'd like to share the screen and to show you the website, just to go to resources. We have those resources as online resources, and to show you that we included also the English language bibliography on women's and gender studies in Central and Eastern Europe from the AWSS website. So we also encourage the visitors of our website to go further and to learn more in different ways, in different places. So we included a number of resources like Gender in Details. It's a popular media, popular platform where the good scholarship is presented in a more popular way, in more accessible form for a general audience. And the podcast like Shaleni Autorki, the crazy authors, female authors, that's about the women writers from the past who were very courageous women and who were perceived like crazy women, but in fact they were absolutely amazing in their lifestyle and in their creativity. So those kinds of resources we try to keep together in one place to make our website a kind of a portal and an entry point into women's and gender history. So those who have no previous knowledge whatsoever can start with something more popular, and those who have more serious and academic interest could benefit from academic resources like scholarly publications on our online library, where you can go and search by title, by topic or period or region or publication type in different languages, or by name of a scholar, the author, and so on. So we try to make our website not only like our facade or our face, but a resource, something useful people can use in a practical manner for their own development, either professional development as scholars or personal development, and a lot of materials for activists and women's rights advocates also express their satisfaction with this kind of resources, because they always look for something which would be useful for their own work to somehow legitimize their activities or political claims or so on and so forth. Okay. Something else. Oh, thank you again. Okay, thank you for your important work. I hope it is important. Thank you so much for your kind words. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
May I point out that we have two pioneers with us, and they need to be acknowledged. Marta Horokhovianko and Rochelle Ruthchild. They are they started all of this a long, long time ago, and we owe them a great deal of thanks.
Absolutely, definitely. And I'd like to underline, I mentioned that at the beginning of our meeting, that Marta Bohachevsky is a honorary member of the Ukrainian Association for Research in Women's History, because we consider her to be the founding mother of the Ukrainian women's history, with her book published back in the 80s and then translated into Ukrainian in the 90s. And I'd like also to share the news that the new edition of the Ukrainian translation of Marta Bohachevsky's book, Feminists Despite Themselves, and the Ukrainian title is Білим по білому, was just published, is fresh out of press in Ukraine again, and it was an improved edition with the introduction written by me and Alla Schwetz, my colleague and the member of our association, and it was published by the first women's publishing house in Ukraine. The name of the publishing house is Creative Women's Publishing. So it's a kind of a network expanding to include the scholars, the activists, the entrepreneurs, female and feminist entrepreneurs. So I am very happy that we come back to this classical work, and obviously we appreciate Marta Bohachevska, Professor Marta Bohachevska-Chomiak, and her patronate over our association. And also I appreciate the unremitting support from Rochelle Ruthchild, who was the one who suggested or who initiated this annual stipend for Ukrainian scholars at risk back in 2022. And since then, every year we 20 Ukrainian scholars who are doing research in women's and gender studies and live in the regions especially affected by war in Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Dnipro, also Kyiv and other places, could receive the amount of money which helped them to hold on and to carry on and to keep working and to keep teaching and to keep doing research and publish their work. And some of them are here with us, and like Marina Voronina and Iryna Savchenko, and I believe Zatalia Zalietor also I don't remember who else. Just, yeah. Rochelle, would you like to say something?
Just briefly, I'm so happy and impressed by the work that's been presented today and by just the amount of information, the way in which it's organized, the accessibility. I'm just so proud of your work and really impressed by it. And I am also really happy that we are able to continue the work of Ukrainian feminist women scholars. So I'm glad just to be here.
Thank you. We always remember that we are standing on the shoulders of our foremothers like you and like Professor Marta Bohachevska-Chomiak and many others who started that work some 40, 50 years ago, and we learned from you, and we consider ourselves to be those who continue it, who carry it into the future. So we try to meet the standard because the standard is very high. So yeah, thank you for your kind words about our work.
Yeah, well, just one more thing, which is Christine Warbeck is also one of our former, and still very active, and I want to acknowledge Christine as well. So
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for everything you have done for us, but also for the work you continue to do, encouraging and supporting us. That's something we value the most.
And I would like to.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, Marta.
Thank you very much. And I particularly want to thank Rochelle for recognizing that such a thing as Ukraine existed within the context of the American academic community of the 70s and even pushing it back to the 60s. I appreciate very much everybody's ability to be able to cooperate with each other. That has been my major goal in these decades of working in various fields, including women's studies, and in the fact that you were able not only to organize the community, but also to be able to make the community become visible within the Ukrainian and the American academic world. For that, I thank you very much, especially now, which is a rather difficult time in my life, but your work and your ability not only to engage in talk, but in produce work, I really appreciate very much, and I thank you humbly for it. Thank you. Дякую дуже. Особливо тепер вам всім тяжко було повірити, коли організувався другий вінок, що щось такого великого зможе вийти в Україні, яка провадить тяжку війну, але помимо того процвітає. Дякую.
Дякую, Pani Marta. Thank you, Marta, so much for these very moving words. Your presence in our association is most precious, and it's something we consider to be our gold standard as well. Your work, which is a classical work for Ukrainian scholars.
Нас багато і нас не подолати.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point to conclude our event, to wrap up. There are many of us and we are invisible. So yeah, I hope that's a good concluding statement for this meeting. We keep working, we keep enriching our library. I encourage you, I shared the link in the chat. I encourage you to inform us of any publication which is important and you consider that to be valuable source for the scholars, to inform us of that publication so we can consider it to be part of the library. We try to make it larger, to widen the scope of the topics and so on. So if you feel like, join the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the LinkedIn page. We will be informing everyone about our activities, about our plans, about our projects, but also we will offer you to meet our members, and probably that would be a good way to find a partnership for international projects as well. Thank you for your presence, for your contributions, for your sisterhood, I would say, because that's what happens here. It's a manifestation of true academic sisterhood across the ocean. And thank you so much. And I will tell our Ukrainian participants, stay safe. Have a calm evening, and thank you everyone for being here and sharing this important event with us. Thank you and bye.